All right. Oh man, I am so dumb. I was just recording for 8 minutes, just talking into my microphone. I never hit record. I didn't even pull it up to hit record. I just started talking into my microphone, and I thought that it was going, but it wasn't. Episode 123, 123. That's pretty cool. Before we jump into this, and I'm just gonna say, I want to talk today, start this out talking about PewDiePie, that whole situation of Wall Street Journal kind of like trying to defame him and all that stuff, because it's something that as a YouTuber, I'm really invested in, and I mean that, it affects my trade in a sense. So it's something that I'm a little fired up about. Before we do hop into this though, I'll just say real quick, if you're listening on iTunes, hop over, give us a zesty 5-star rating. That would be most appreciated. Helps us grow, helps us get out there to more people. Just say this podcast is zesty. Just that's all you gotta say. Leave it a 5-star rating. That would be most appreciated. But okay, there you go. That was 15 seconds of self promo, Anyways, let me get off that. Let me get on to PewDiePie. So, a lot of heat going on between the new media world, which is this is a new media outlet right here, I suppose you could say, and the old ways of the news. Well, actually, I shouldn't even say that because Wall Street Journal is an online thing. What I'm getting at though is if you didn't hear, and if you didn't hear, you're probably living under a stone. Not even a rock, a stone. PewDiePie was attacked by the Wall Street Journal. That's a harsh way to frame it, but I'm not gonna step down from that allegation. Basically, if you don't know, the Wall Street Journal published an article on PewDiePie claiming he made a bunch of anti-Semitic videos in the past few months, and most of them were jokes, but they completely just ignored the fact that it was jokes, and he actually ended up getting dropped by his network Maker, which is owned by Disney, if you didn't know, and he had his YouTube Red canceled. Sorry, he had his YouTube Red show canceled. He didn't have his YouTube Red account canceled, although maybe, but that wouldn't be a huge issue. Anyways, basically, got cut from his network, which isn't the worst thing to happen to you if you're PewDiePie, because honestly, I mean, let's be honest. There's a lot of networks out there, and a lot of networks that would be excited to have PewDiePie on board. Just having PewDiePie in your network, even if you're not making a lot of money off him or no money, it's nice because you could say, well, PewDiePie's with us, and if PewDiePie is with us, then he's kind of like a lost leader. He's going to draw other YouTubers in. So PewDiePie is going to sign with another network, and that's going to be really good for that other network. And honestly, probably really good for Felix, because he's probably going to get a fat signing bonus. I can only I know some YouTubers, not of my size, but of my relative size, like, the 2, 3, or even just people that are smaller, that are growing really bigly, large, quickly, getting some fat, like 6-figure signing bonuses. I've heard, anyways. If you're PewDiePie, geez, I can only imagine how big that signing bonus you could pull. Not that I'm sure he needs the money, and he doesn't seem like a dude that really cares about it. Just saying. As far as the YouTube Red show goes, that sucks for Felix because, I'm sure he put a lot of work in, but mostly I feel bad for all the people that were working on that YouTube Red show. But I want to back up a little bit and talk about this because, it sucks for PewDiePie, but it's more than just a PewDiePie issue. And it really is something that can, it indirectly affects all YouTubers, and it is made every YouTuber kind of perk up like, whoa, this is something that can happen. The Wall Street Journal basically lied about PewDiePie. He made apparently 9 videos in the last, since July, so last 6 months or 5 months. He made 9 videos that were anti-Semitic. By the way, I've always wondered why the term is anti-Semitic. You know, if you're like, you don't like black people, it's like you're racist, or you just don't like black people. That's what you would say that person is. But it's not like I'm anti-Jewish, or it's like, oh, he doesn't like Jewish people, you know, like you would say for, you know, he's a racist, you know, he's a Jewist. No, it's just, I don't know where the word Semitic comes from. I'm just curious about that. Just curious about the language there. But anyways, what I was saying is, he made these videos. You know, PewDiePie is not someone that you should really take serious, and that's the thing is he's a newer age comic. You know, he's not like a stand-up comedian, but he's trying to be funny. He's trying to get a laugh out of people, and you know, I, for one, think that him wearing like a Nazi hat and watching a Hitler video and like, yeah, you know, that is fucking hilarious because it's not serious. Like it's a joke, okay? It's a joke. And you know, maybe you're like, I really don't like Hitler, you know, whatever. But anyone with a sense of humor, I think, can at least appreciate the just ridiculousness of that. It's just so over the top stupid. It's funny, okay? And I get, you know, you could argue, well, it's gonna, you know, apparently hate groups are like, oh yeah, we love PewDiePie. But listen, most people are gonna be able to take that as a joke for what it is at face value. And maybe, you know, maybe you can argue like, yeah, he pushed it too hard, and you know, he shouldn't have gone that far with his joke. There's an argument to be made there. I understand that, but this is the thing that really, really bothers me, that really upsets me, again, as a fellow YouTuber, is how Wall Street Journal, I mean, if I heard, oh, Wall Street Journal, I mean, they're pretty reputable, right? You know, apparently not, because they can just take something that is a joke, right? You know, comedians say ridiculous shit all the time. That's like the point of being a comedian. Was it Dave Chappelle? I think there's a comedian that said, like, he's like, if my kid was gay, I would kill him. Okay? Comedians joke about stuff and they're not serious. And that's the problem, is that you're trying to be funny and people take it straight up. So basically they manipulated this, and they just said, oh, well, he had Hitler in this video and Hitler in this video, all this stuff. But dude, it was used so ridiculously. There's no argument to say that he is pro-Hitler, that he is against Jewish people. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And if he really was, he wouldn't, you know. If you're PewDiePie and you were against Jewish people, I think that'd be something you'd try to hide, rather than, you know, because obviously, like, that would be very bad for his publicity and stuff. I don't really think you'd be showing Hitler in your videos if you were, like, actually against racist, or, you know, Jewish people, because you'd be like, yeah, oh, they're gonna catch on. They're gonna catch on to my Nazi ways. But it's just ridiculous, okay? It is absolutely ridiculous that they would stretch the truth so far to the point, basically just ignoring that and just going because it's a story, because it's a big thing. Oh, well, yeah, you know, that would be, I mean, geez, I can't even think of an example, but it just, you know, I've said some crazy stuff on YouTube before, but again, you know, you're saying things to get a laugh, and just to take it that far, to the point where my mom texted me, and she's like, yeah, I heard about this PewDiePie guy. I heard he's like against like Jewish people. What? No, I didn't even know what was going on at this point, but I'm texting my mom, and I text her back. I read it through, and I'm like, listen, I don't know this full story on this. This is the first news of this to me, but listen, this is not true. Don't believe this. Because it's like, listen, I'm a YouTuber. I know the game. I understand this stuff, and there's some lies here. And basically it just turned out like Wall Street Journal just made some shit up because it would get a lot of traction, and that's exactly what I got. Thousands of news articles talking about this situation, because it is a really big situation. You know, if you want to spin it that, oh, it's crazy that PewDiePie is an anti-Semite, that is how it got spun some ways. And then you had the people that are actually reasonable, you know, which, I mean, I guess is kind of biased for me because I'm talking about like a lot of YouTubers that were like, well, no, Felix is obviously joking. But, you know, there's the millions of people that aren't on YouTube, that don't watch PewDiePie, that don't know the YouTube system and all this stuff. And like, well, you know, geez, he's had 9 things in his videos. He must be like trying to subtly hint that he hates. No, that's not what it is. But that's what a lot of people believed. And that's what my mom believed. And she said, you know, it just proves you got to be careful with what you say. And I think that's true to some extent. A little coffee. But at the same time, just the fact that that can get stretched out so much scares the hell out of me. But it's also a good thing because there's one reaction, and this is making a lot of people kind of go to the counter side of like, no, like screw you. And there's something that PewDiePie said in his response video that stood out to me so well. So well. Is he said they're scared. And that is so, it's so true. The fact that these older forms of media, really interesting, actually, I want to throw out here. I was listening to a podcast with Gary Vaynerchuk, I think it is. I'm sorry, I don't remember his last name, but Gary V, like an entrepreneur type guy. And he was talking about old media and how in the 1940s and 50s, TV was becoming a thing. And before TV, radio was the big platform, the big medium of people talking and doing stuff. And he talked about how back in the 40s, the radio people would make fun of and basically try to downplay this new upcoming form of media and their stars, which was television. Okay, think about how common television is today. And that's the exact same thing that's happening now. So if you think about it, people, humans, we cycle. We do the same stuff. We have patterns that we're doomed to repeat over and over. So all these old stars, these radio stars, this was the norm, right? People like the norm, and you know, people like radio. This new media is starting to pop up. And the radio people are making fun of them. They're saying, yeah, right, it's not a real, you know, this isn't a real form of media, okay, you know. No, this is just some new TV thing. It's a fad. And that's what people said about the internet when it started, you know, this is just a fad. And that's when YouTubers started popping up, oh, just these like, you know, these silly YouTubers that are just posting videos. They have no production value, and, you know, they're just making a video in their room. Why are they, you know, you shouldn't take them for anything more than just, you know, just a person. But this is the funny thing, is as the internet's expanding and growing and becoming the new form of the thing, you know, like the internet is taking stuff over. I mean, it's huge. That internet thing, I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's pretty big deal. And oh God, that was a really weak drink. I'm gonna take another drink. Okay, give me a sec here. That was nice. Anyways, you have the internet. It's big, is what I'm getting at. I think we all know that. But still, do you remember like a year ago or 2 years ago when I think it was Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel or one of those late night guys making fun of PewDiePie and making fun of people that watch gamers? They're like, oh, you're not even playing the video game. You're just watching someone play the video game. And the backlash to that was immense. It was like their most disliked video ever, because it's like, no, listen, you're trying to make fun of this new form of media that you don't understand. And that realistically, like Felix said, which I agree with so strongly, they don't understand it. They don't understand the magnitude that is PewDiePie. I mean, listen, I'll pull this up right now. You want to know how many monthly views PewDiePie gets? PewDiePie? Oh God, of course, YouTube's broken. Okay, listen, geez, okay, can't even tell with PewDiePie because, listen, okay? Last month, PewDiePie got 374 million views. 374 million. Just a dude, Just a dude, okay? Not anything crazy, not this big production value, just one guy. I think he has an editor, probably has a graphics guy, probably some sort of manager, some talent guy, talent agencies sort of thing to get brand deals, even though PewDiePie doesn't even have brand deals because he doesn't need them. What I'm getting at is PewDiePie doesn't have a big production. Let's say 5 people, 5 to 10 people maybe. I don't really know how exactly large PewDiePie is, but 5 to 10 people, let's say. Not bad for 374 million views. So what's that? 300 million people? Let's ballpark 300 million people. That's America right there. That's America right there. Absolutely insane, man. Absolutely insane. And it's crazy because, the media wants to downplay this. And, like, it's like the older generation is like, yeah, this isn't a big deal. Like, gee, just some internet star. And the other thing I found really interesting, Felix commented about, is like, all people care about is how much money I make. That's all they play is, all he does is, he plays video games, and you won't believe how much money he makes. It's like, I get that because it's so amazing. It's this new form of media. It's like, wow, you can make all this money from doing this, and millions of dollars and stuff if you're big enough. Not this guy, but hey, maybe someday. That'd be nice. I wouldn't say no to PewDiePie numbers. 370 million views. Jeez, that's like almost. I think that's more than my total views ever. It's crazy. Anyways, it just goes to show you, number one, how my mom, she texted me and she completely believed it because, it's the news. I think the one thing you could take away from this is that remember that everyone, just like on YouTube, is trying to get a click, is trying to get that view. I'm no different. I'm trying to get that view, but I'm just trying to be an entertainer. I'm not trying to deceive people and lie about shit. But at the end of the day, I think, like I said, everyone is trying to get that click. And there are people out there that are going to lie about this stuff. And, they're news, so they're, like, legit. But the truth is, really, is you can say, oh, well, PewDiePie's just some guy. Why does he have any more say? The truth is, like, a news company, whether you're Fox News or CNN or the Wall Street Journal or the Philip DeFranco show, great news source. That's where I get my news. You're all just some guy. You know what I mean? Just because you wear suits and you do it professionally, you're still just a collection, a group of some guy. So you're 100 some guys, or however big Fox News is or CNN or whatever. You're still just a group of people, and whether you're PewDiePie or them, you're just a person, and you don't know everything. You're not perfect, and you're not the authority, okay? That's the thing I hate about the news. And ever since I've been young, I think that's a trait of younger people, is to, not go with what the past generation is about. I've just always felt like the news was pointless, in some sense, because the truth is everyone has their own agenda. Everyone has some sort of bias. And they want you to believe a certain way. They want you to think a certain way. And it's really crazy when you start thinking about news and about the media. Is the question is, who controls the media, right? Who at the end of the day, it's always about the money, right? And it's crazy to think, just how much sway that has. People, it's just some people, like I said, like you. Okay, think about you. Think about how, I don't want to say meaningless, but insignificant you are as just a single person. You're just one little person, right? The news is just the same as you, just older, and they're just confident. That's the truth, man. That is the truth. You don't need to be more intelligent. You don't need to be more skilled. You don't need to be anything besides more confident than people, and someone will listen. It's the truth. It's the sad truth, but it is true. Think about in like elementary school or junior high or high school. Okay, listen. I don't want to downplay, if you're in school, because listen, that's just where you're at in life. That's your hustle right now. You're moving forwards. But the truth is, if you're in high school or below, you probably don't have any major skills. I never really understood that till I got out of school. But now my friends, I have a friend who's a paramedic. He's like he delivered a dead baby. No joke. He just texted me about it. He was like super shook up. He's like, yeah, dude, this baby died. It's pretty sad. I'm like, man, that's crazy. But it's like, dude, you have an actual skill now, you know? Some of my friends like studying stuff. My roommate's studying kinesiology. He knows all about the freaking body and muscles and how they move. Crazy stuff. But, you know, the younger you are, the less skills you have. But think about how there's always like a group of people that are somehow like superior. Whether like, oh, that's the cool people or they're the football team or whatever. There's always that like hierarchy. And the truth is, really all it is, I mean, you know, there's some hot bitches, then, you know, those are hot bitches. But really, all it is just confidence. It's just the people that are more confident. They have no more skills than you. They have no more, maybe a little more life experience just due to their upbringing. But the truth is, you know, people that think they got it all together, even I think adults, man, this is my new theory that I've been thinking as I'm getting older now, 21, so I'm not that old, but compared to like, you know, being like 15, looking at a 21-year-old, it's like, damn, that's friggin' old. I feel that getting old, man. But the thing is the internet keeps me young at heart. It's so true. It's ridiculous. But just you guys, my audience keeps me so young. I think I have well, sometimes I can be mature. I mean, my girlfriend's 25, so you know, I'm not like a baby, but I can be pretty damn immature if I want to, and I love it. Where am I even going with this again? Is oh yeah, adults, man. When you're younger, adults act like they got shit figured out. And my theory, honestly, as someone that knows they don't have it figured out, but I don't know, I like to think I've got some stuff figured out. You know, I'm doing what I love for a living. And I kind of lucked into that a little bit, but still, I'm doing it. And I think that's like the one way I can justify myself in the world, you know, when I'm like, you know, because when you don't have any self-esteem, right? You're just like, man, I'm a piece of shit. But you know, that's like the one thing I can be is like, oh well, I have a lot of subscribers on YouTube. That's my way of feeling better. But you know, I'm not saying I got the world figured out here. But what I am saying is, I think I've got a big enough scope on the world to realize that, myself included, no one knows what we're doing here. No one knows what the heck is going on. No one knows anything. We're just fumbling around, man. Why is that not generally? I'm gonna answer my own question here. Why is it that no one makes note of that? Why is it that no one says like, hey guys, has anyone like ever stopped to think about what's actually going on here? We're just people, and we make more people, and then that person comes out, and then they're like, well, gee, I don't know what's going on, but the older people, they seem to know what's going on. But think about it, those people, they don't know what's going on because at one point they were those young people, and there were older people before that, and they've only learned stuff from the people behind them and behind them and behind them. And you get back like 20 years, they didn't have the internet, and people would believe anything because they had no way of actually figuring shit out. There was no communication like there is nowadays. So, I mean, not to say that people 20 years ago were stupid, but people nowadays are like the smartest we've ever been because we have all the information that we could ever want in the history of ever in a little tiny brick the size that it could fit in our hand. So what I am saying is that no one really knows anything, okay? And to answer my question is that why does no one address that? It's because everyone wants to think that they have life figured out, you know? Oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm an adult. Yeah. Oh yeah, you know, yeah, you got to get your life together, you know? Get your life together. That's something people say. What does that even mean? That's just, you know, I think that means like get a job and, you know, do what you want to do, man. Do what you want to do. But people say get your life together. That doesn't necessarily mean, you know, get into the system of get a shitty job and, you know, grind it out. I don't know, man. It's hard for me to say because I'm in a weird position where I don't have to do that. But all I think, though, okay, all I know is that people act like they know everything. You know, your teachers, I mean, I remember being in high school. Obviously, you're a teacher. You got to have some authority in the class. You can't just be like, well, we're no, you know, I get it. But at the same time, those teachers that act like, you know, they're just the authoritarian and they know everything. No, you don't. No, you don't. You're just a person like me. You popped out of someone else, and you are here like, gee, what the heck is going on? And we're basically just trial and error. We're just trial and error, figuring it out. Bump into this. Don't bump into that. Do this a bunch. You make some money. Oh, I'll do that. People laugh at your joke. Oh, I'll do that. But Jesus. Oh my God. It's ridiculous. It's funny though. It is really funny. But you'd think, okay, this is all I'm saying. You'd think that there would be like some life manual instructions or something. Why can't we agree on that? Why is there no life manual? Like seriously, okay? I know that sounds ridiculous. The only reason that sounds ridiculous is because there isn't one. But like, why can't we get a bunch of really successful, smart people to sit down, okay? And not just like the, crazy, like wealthy people. Maybe some wealthy people, maybe some like Elon Musk types, just like super smart dudes, some university professors. Let's get some businessmen. Let's get some people that just, live life, that travel people. Let's get like 20 people in a room, so just like really successful but happy people in a room together. Maybe some creators, maybe like some comedians. Let's just get a whole bunch of people in a room is what I'm saying. 20, okay? 20 people. And let's just have them come up with like a rough guideline to live life. Okay? And the thing with life is it's one of those things that you're just bumping around and figuring out, like, oh, do this, don't do this. But, maybe also let's throw some normal people in there that just work a 9 to 5. Like throw those people in there too, because they've got an important say. They've got an important perspective that is the general population of a perspective. Maybe some people that have really fucked up in life and failed at their goals. Have a real balance in there. But get some people, just get some like. The reason I say Elon Musk is I started reading a book by Elon Musk, by the way. But seems like a successful dude. Anyways, what I'm saying is like, just like, some rough guidelines. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, you need to do this, you need to do this, and you need to do this. But you just think in the year 2017, like, hey, you turn 18 and then you're given a pamphlet, and say, oh, well, that's what school's for. But no, you don't learn shit in school. You learn how to do math. You learn history. You learn like geography, you learn how to analyze novels. Which is good because it's exercising your mind, okay? I had a math teacher. Every single math teacher I've ever had, is always been, well, the reason you're going to need to know this is because you're going to need to know it next year. And, you'll need this at university. And then, oh yeah, well, the worst thing I ever heard from a teacher was, oh, well, if you ever want to become a math teacher, you're going to need to know this. Say, well, if there were no math teachers that, like, listen, that's a terrible explanation. The only reason math is important, unless you're trying to go into, like, some crazy math in a university, only reason, like, I mean, in your day-to-day, yeah, you're going to, like, you should learn some, like, exponentials and all that basic stuff, but you don't need to know, like, crazy stuff, okay? If you want to go to, like, I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't learn some math, because it's important, but practical stuff, okay? Practical stuff. But the one reason, okay, best explanation, Mr. Borden, grade 9, high school, okay, thank you for this explanation. The only reason math is important, unless you're trying to go into some areas, is math is exercise for your mind, okay? Math is exercise for the brain. You exercise your muscles, you exercise your heart and lungs when you run. And when you're developing, I get it. Like, it actually makes a lot of sense. Is that like it's puzzling challenges for your mind. That actually, it's like you have to follow this set of guidelines, and you have an equation, and you gotta, like, I get that. And I was really good at math, so it's easy for me to say that because I actually enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy math, but I was good at math, so it was all right. But we're not taught in school like anything. I just got in an accident 2 nights ago. I got in a car crash, and I had no idea what to do because guess what? I was never taught that. You say, oh, you're stupid, but like, if you've never been in a car accident, then you don't know what to do. Okay, so I got the guy's insurance, and I got his phone number, I got his name, called the police. You got to report that. But I didn't really know what I was doing. I'm like, and this was an older dude, so he knew. He's like, oh yeah, I got to call our insurance and call our SMP, all this stuff. But I had no idea. What was going on. So, anyways, that was an interesting scenario. But what I'm getting at is you're just not taught anything important. Okay, I think the two most important classes that need to be taught in high school are finance. Actually, I'm gonna say three. Finance, psychology, and economics. Now, those are some more advanced classes. So, maybe like some basics, the basics of finance, the basics of psychology, and the basics of economics. And this is why. So I took all of these three courses in university. And these courses I've learned more than really anywhere else as far as important life stuff goes. Accounting's important too, actually. So I'm going to throw accounting in there. Some basic, it's good to know how to work with money. Yeah, that's an important one. So, okay, those are what we're going to say. But you know what? You can do an accounting and finance class. You could do both, okay? Actually, accounting is a thing they offer in some high schools, I know. They did at mine. But, okay, finance, most important thing. And this is why. You learn the value of compounding interest. So, most people in their life, I feel like, you're kind of living on a paycheck. You get paid and you spend that money. And you just think of, oh, this is the money I have to spend. And not many people look towards the future of like, the next 30 years. And if you're 20, let's say, and I think there's a thing. It's like Woody's gamer tag. If you're 20, right, and you invest $12,000 a year into just index funds, which is just, it takes the top 500 companies, and it basically, it's the top 500 companies in America, the S&P 500. That's basically what an index fund is. It's an index of the top. So basically, it's the larger portion of the American market. And basically, what you're doing when you're investing into that is you're not betting on some stock of this. Apple stock's going to go up, because who the hell knows, okay? But what you're betting on, what you're investing in, is the general American market. So you're basically saying, well, I believe that the American economy is going to grow. Since the 1800s, the American economy has been growing, and it would take something really bad for the American economy over the long term to shrink. And if it were, there would probably be wars and stuff. Now, yeah, like in a recession, that can go down 20%. I saw actually in the recession in 2008 went down 30%. Okay, this is like the finance plays over here. But what I'm getting at is like index funds. I recommend you look it up if you're a younger person that has some money, you're over 18, you want to invest. That's what I basically invest into. It's kind of risky, but it's long term. It yields around 8%. So what I'm saying is, if you are 20 years old, and let's say you happen to have $12,000 you could just invest every year, in 22 years, you'll be a millionaire. So $12,000 times 21 is, that's $250,000. So you can turn $250,000 into $1 million in 21 years through compound interest. And that's something that a lot of people don't know about. Because guess what? You're not taught about it at school. So you're taught like, oh yeah, money comes in, money goes out. And no one's really ever thinks like, oh, maybe I should invest that for the future or something like that. But no, people don't really think about that. People don't look at that. And instead they just go, well, money in, money out. And not everyone can do it. Obviously not everyone can has $12,000 lying around to invest. But hey, let's say $1,200. I think if you work a job, you could probably, if you want to, okay, if you're really trying to, you could save $1,200 a year, okay? In 20 years, that's going to be $100,000. 25,000 into 100,000. So I don't know. That's pretty cool. But that's something that you're just never taught. On the other side of it is debt, which is way more important. And they're not taught about this in high school at all. But okay, I'm really getting mathy here, and I'm sorry, but listen, this is actually like important knowledge that is good to have for your life. These like the younger people like that are 14. If you're like 16 or younger listening to this, good information, but doesn't apply to you at all right now. So I'm sorry. Something to think about in the future, though. It's important. Okay, you have $1,000 credit card limit, and you spend $1,000, and you can't pay that $1,000. Okay, well, guess what? 20% are the rates yearly. I think it's 21% or so. So not only did you just spend $1,000, which is the $1,000 for $1,000, there's also that 20% over the year. So that's another $200. If you got to make the minimum payment. So $1,000. Let's say you owe $1,020 and you pay $20. Well, you still owe $1,000 and you got to make the payment on that, the monthly payment. So when you're getting into debt, remember that $1,000 is actually like owing $1,200 on a credit card. Mortgages, for example, you have a $100,000 mortgage on a house. Usually mortgages are like 6% over 30 years. You're probably paying more like $130,000 for that house. Even though the price value is $100,000, it's $30,000 just to rent that money. So people don't think about that. But I mean, I knew about this because I'm just a weirdo. And when I was in high school, this was some of the things I concerned myself with. I'm way too, I shouldn't say way too future orientated because it's a good thing, but I'm always like, oh God, looking towards the future. But I took Finance 1 course last year in university, and that's what you learn. You learn the math of that. You learn the actual mathematics of how that works. So, I remember our professor, great guy, by the way, Professor Semenenko. Anyways, he was a great guy. But you just learn if you're gonna pay $100,000 on a mortgage, you're paying more like $130,000 for that house. People don't think about that. So high school, what I'm getting back to here, long tangent. Finance, super, super important. Psychology, I won't go as long into that, but just learning how the mind works. And I don't know, I just feel like psychology is something good to learn. Sociology as well, if you're into that, but that's something they do offer. But psychology, just the basics, man. You can go over and you can learn some stuff. It's interesting stuff. And, in Psych 1, they kind of cover like the more interesting stuff, but like briefly go over it. But I just think learning a little bit about how people work and learning like some empathy, I think that's really important to know going in forwards in life. And economics, because it just gives you a great rundown of how the world works. It's just simply knowing supply and demand, all that kind of stuff. Monopolies, tariffs, taxes. Here's one. How raising the minimum wage to $15 will actually make people lose jobs. That's not an argument. That's just like a basic economic fact. Because if you make the minimum wage go up from $7.50 to $15, now you got to pay twice as much for that worker. So you're going to only be able to afford half the workers, unless you want to raise the budget on workers. So that's really important to know too, just a basic understanding of the world. And accounting, I don't know if this applies to everyone, but I just got my first ever income statement for the year for my company, which is just YouTube is my company, but I have like a corporation for that because, I got my first income statement and it was like, oh, I took accounting. I understand this. I'm reading through and it's like, oh, wow, this. Anyways, that was something cool, but I don't think everyone needs accounting. It's good to have though. My mom actually, the company, my mom, well, I shouldn't say the company. It's just she's like a psychologist. They kind of got screwed because the owner didn't know accounting and was basically getting ripped off. So that kind of stuff is important to have too. Just like money, I think that's like something people really aren't. No one talks about money because it's like a taboo subject. And as I've gotten more comfortable talking about money, with certain people, I think it's good. I will openly discuss with like some of my closer friends on YouTube, like how much money I made on a brand deal, like how my CPMs were for the month, all that stuff. And the reason is because I was talking about this with Chucky, actually. Chucky mentioned this to me. I was like, man, that's really smart. He was saying, like, him and Dalek, I think it was, or some guy he's close with, they always tell each other how much they got on brand deals. So, this company asks you to advertise, and you're like, all right, sounds like a cool deal. You're going to pay me this much. They tell each other that. And, it's kind of taboo, like, oh, you shouldn't talk about how much money you make. But the truth is listen, we're all YouTubers. We all know how much each other makes, really. If you're a YouTuber, okay, basic CPMs, I could do the math. I roughly know how much you make. So, it's not like it's even hidden anyways. But just kind of explaining to each other, like, how much we make. And I'll say, like, me and Matt did a deal together, actually, back in the Z House. And he knew exactly how much I was making on that, because I was like, do you think that's like a good deal for me? And he's like, yeah, I think you're not getting ripped off here. And I'll talk about that with some of the guys I'm closer with, just because, I'm in a position where it's just benefiting all of us to know, And maybe I get a brand deal and I run it by one of my friends, or I mention, yeah, this is how much I made on this one. Then they'll hear, oh, Pat made this much and his channel is this big. And it's just good to just be open with those people. I'm not saying, like, I'm going around, like, spouting to everyone, because I don't like talking about money, and I don't like worrying about that kind of stuff. I hate when people ask me how much money I make. Like, literally, you ask me that question, you're dead to me. No, not really, but I have had people ask me, and it's just like, man, like, guess what? Doesn't matter, because guess what? I'm a person first and foremost. God, that sounds so bad. I honestly, I feel bad for PewDiePie, because that's all people care about. It's like, oh, how much money do you make? And it's just listen. If I told you $1 million, would that make me a better person? The person that's standing right here, would that make me better? Would that make me worse? No, it wouldn't change anything, because I'm not, well, that's bad, because now I'm not saying I'm a millionaire. Freaking wish. But what I'm saying is, if I said I had $1 million, okay, and let's say I did have $1 million, which I wish I did, let's say I said, yes, I have $1 million. Well, if I already had $1 million, that doesn't change the person that I am. Okay, if I'm going up to you and saying, hey, guess what, I'm a millionaire, then that changes me, because I'm putting that into your face. But I'm the same person. You know what I mean? No matter how much money you make, it doesn't matter if you make $20,000 a year or $1 million a year. You're the same person, and it's just shitty to judge people. And that's why people want to ask, because they're curious how much YouTubers make, and they they just want to say, like, hey, how much do you make? Because I want to judge you, and I want to know, I'm gonna like, judge your value as a human being based on your monetary value. And if you happen to make a lot of money, people say, oh, cool, oh, cool, he makes a lot of money, must be a cool guy. Hitler probably made a lot of money, just saying. But no, money is important. Wouldn't be able to do much without money. But I don't know, it's just one of those things. Anyways, I've gotten way off topic, and I like it, man. I like just going wherever this podcast takes us, and just going for it. You know what I mean? It's zesty. Yeah, real zesty. All right, here's something else I want to talk about. Is actually, the whole point of this was to talk about the life pamphlet. So let me get back to that life pamphlet, because I forgot. Is all I'm saying is, you would think that, given the circumstances, it being 2017, we get a whole bunch of different people to get together and just come up with a pamphlet that when you turn 18, they give you the pamphlet, and you're like, here's some general advice to live your life. And it's like, be nice to people. And it explains why it's important to be nice to people. And it says, like, listen, you don't have to be nice to people, but it's important because, you should treat people as though they are you just living another life. And, it's just important to treat people nice, because in the end, okay, and this is what I mean, the ultimate argument is, as to why it is to be good to be nice, is because in the end, it benefits you, okay? It's selfish, but I mean, there's arguments that the whole reason people act at all. Everything is selfish, because it's you're number one, and that's true. But if you're a nice person, people like you, people gravitate towards you. If you're a person with a lot of energy, people like that. I mean, that's important in and of itself. But I think, again, I like when I feel best, and I feel I feel really good when I act this way. This is a little bit of a mind trip here, but imagine what like consciousness is. Like, think about your day-to-day life and your awareness of everything, and you're a person, you're going through. Imagine that consciousness isn't just limited, that this consciousness is like a jellyfish, okay? And each little tentacle of the jellyfish is it's like I told you this is going to get weird. The jellyfish has a tentacle, and that tentacle is dropping into our reality, and it is your perception, okay? So that tentacle is you as a person, right? And there's all these people. And what if all consciousness is just it's a jellyfish, right? And it's just one perspective, right? Like, okay, here's a better way to put it. Imagine you have a jellyfish, and at the end of every little like jellyfish leg antenna, what the hell do you call those? Like all the things coming down from a jellyfish. Imagine each one has a camera, and you are that camera, okay? So it is your perspective, and each camera is not aware that it is actually connected to a jellyfish. And you know what I mean? What if that's people, right? And we're all, consciousness is all the same, right? But each camera sees a different thing and is therefore influenced from different perspectives because they've seen different things in life. But what if all consciousness is the same? The way that you're viewing it is just, it's just your different camera. You've been influenced by your life and your genetics and all this stuff. But what if we're all just viewing things from the same consciousness, just in our own perspective? And what if all consciousness is the same? Okay, I told you it was going to get a little trippy there for a sec, but understand that, okay? And that's a pretty far out there idea. I mean, I'm not saying I believe that. I mean, if that were the case, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Think about, what is awareness? I mean, we don't really know. But just imagine that, okay? And that's a little out there. But reeling it in to the point is, when I treat people like they are me, okay? So imagine me, imagine you, right? And the way that you see the world and you interact and view everything. Imagine that, this is still pretty weird, but imagine that you are that person, okay? And that you are seeing the world through that person. And like, imagine when you die, you're going to go into that body now, and you're going to experience life through that perspective and this perspective and every single perspective. And that's like the ultimate in empathy, right? And understanding people is just like, you're just the same person, this is that person. If that was really you, right? Wouldn't you want to treat you really well? Because you'd be like, damn, that's me, but only in another world. So you know what? I think today I want to hold the door for me, because you know what? I would appreciate if someone held the door for me. So why don't I hold the door for this person, whether they're actually me or not, right? I mean, that's what I mean. It's a little bit of a trippy idea, and it's a little bit out there, but at the core of it is basically just treating all people as though it's just you living another life, because really it kind of is, in a sense. You're just another person. And that's why I think it's important to treat people well, is because really at the end of the day, we're all the same. We're all in this together. We're just people, right? And, if that person over there, okay, what if, let me say this better, okay? This is actually a good idea to put it. Of the whole world, okay? What if you found out, right, that there was a person that was you? There was another person that every single person on the planet shares. I don't know. It's like they're the same as you. Okay, they like when you die, that you will go. Your consciousness will be that person's consciousness, or I don't know, man. That's crazy. But just imagine it's just one person, right? and that person was struggling. Wouldn't you want to help that person out because you know that when you die, you're going to live that person's life? You'd want to help that person out, right? So, it's like, what if that's everybody, man? You know what I mean? It's a little out there of an idea, but at the core of it, the point is just to treat people nice, man. It's just to treat people nice, and that would be. Oh my God, dude, this life pamphlet is taking forever. Holy, give me a second to cough here. Oh yeah, we're still sick. Love it. But I think that'd be the number one thing. Is just treat people as how you would like to be treated yourself. That's the core of it. Next thing I think would be like just some basics, like exercise. You don't have to do something crazy, but just move your body. You still have monkey DNA, and your body is meant to move. Your body is meant to work and struggle and rip its muscles and repair them, and you'll get a better sleep and you'll be less stressed. So figure out some form of exercise and do it at least 3 days a week. How about that? That's pretty straightforward. Hey, sugar is bad for you. Don't eat sugar. Or you can eat sugar, but understand that this is what happens when you eat sugar. So, educate people on nutrition a little bit. And, there's a lot of science out there that says different things. Like some people say that, high-fat diets are good for you. Some people say it isn't. I personally believe a high-fat diet is good for you, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think more importantly, low-sugar diets are what's good for you. Or at least not bad for you. Same thing with alcohol. Same thing with marijuana. Same thing with every drug, really, if you think about it. Educate people. I think that would be an important thing. We all get sex education. Why don't we get drug education? Why don't we get, we do get a little nutrition in there. I think that would be good, though. Wouldn't that be good if when you turn 18 or whatever legal age it is to consume drugs, so like if it's 19 in alcohol it's 19. It's a weird one. Drugs and alcohol's a drug, and a drug is just something that affects your body, changes the chemistry of your body. Alcohol's a drug. So when your parents are drinking alcohol, they're doing drugs. There you go. People don't like to think that. They don't like to think, but you're getting high on alcohol, and the intoxication of alcohol is a high. Might be a low, I guess, because it depresses you. But it's you're getting high on alcohol, getting high on coffee. Okay, I'm drinking drugs right here. I'm doing drugs on my podcast. Think about that. Some people don't think that's funny. They say no, it's different because it's not illegal. It's still a drug. Okay, Tylenol's a drug. You're taking drugs. But what was I getting at? Is that wouldn't it be interesting if people. When you turn the age of that you are legally allowed to consume a drug, so like tobacco, and we were talking about tobacco, but I feel like they didn't really teach us about alcohol. Obviously, marijuana is going to be legal soon in Canada, so that's something that people need to be educated on, and even when you're younger, I think if you're like, hey, this is alcohol, here's what it does, and we had a teacher actually, again, Mr. Borden. This was like PD class. So now that I think about it, Mr. Borden was kind of like the the life advice teacher. Looking back, really the only guy that was giving out life advice. So that's kind of neat. But I just feel like, if you're taught like, oh yeah, this is alcohol and this is what it does, and long-term use of alcohol can give you cancer, and learn. But at the same time, people enjoy alcohol and they can, have a glass of wine at night, and it's not even that bad for you. Apparently, a glass of red wine at night is good for you. I had a bottle of red wine, and every night for like 3 days, I drank like just a little bit because I'm okay with red wine, but I don't like a lot of it. Like just like half a glass, the turnt plays. But I don't know. I feel like you feel good. You have a little glass of wine. Not a lot of alcohol. Not enough to get the negative effects, but just a little bit. It's good, man. It's good. But yeah, dude. I'm just like, honestly, marijuana legalization in Canada is something I'm like super interested in. I think it's going to be, I'm fascinated to see the economic as well as social benefits of marijuana legalization for recreational use in Canada. That was a mouthful. I don't think I could say that again. But I think it's a really big thing because I just look at it this way, okay? I don't really promote any like a drug as far as like alcohol or any other drugs or tobacco or anything, because I have a younger audience, and I like to drink. I've never really hid that. I drink way less than I used to, but I definitely enjoy a nice Jameson and ginger ale. Okay, I like a drink. Okay, but again, I try not to talk about that too much, just because I don't want. If you're 14, you're listening to this, you're like, oh yeah, I want to drink too because I want to be cool. Even though I did that, I didn't drink when I was 14, but I drank when I was illegal and when I wasn't of age. But I don't know, where I live, everybody did. So, I was like, oh, I'm normal. Actually, I was late. I was like, everyone in junior high was starting to drink, and I was like, oh my God, they're going to ruin their life. So I didn't until later. But anyways, what I'm saying is I don't like to talk about, like anything like weed or, but I drink, and that's the thing, right? I don't like to talk about that because I just feel like, I'm going to influence people to drink at a young age and when they shouldn't be drinking. But I do think it's going to be really interesting when marijuana becomes legal, because Colorado, it's legal. Isn't it all up the left side of America now? Good job, left side of America. You're doing a good job. Massachusetts, it's legal. Maine, it's legal. God damn, I'm going to Maine. But no, so I mean, just like as far as like, I mean, listen, I'm not here to like debate like the, all the benefits, but I'm curious to see if like once marijuana becomes legal in Canada, like countrywide, which it's I think it's this spring, it's going to be legalized, but not legal to sell yet. So they're going to not like, listen, like if you have it, that's fine. You're able to have it. You're just not able to sell it, which is kind of a weird situation, because the only way you can get marijuana, which would be legal to possess, is if you bought it, but that person can't sell it. So there's still going to be like some black market stuff there for another year till 2018, apparently, which is when they're going to make it legal to sell marijuana. So fully legal, just like alcohol, just like cigarettes. You can just go into a store. I don't know if it's going to be like probably province regulated, and I want to pack a Marlboro Greens. That'd actually be pretty crazy. But where I was going with it is like, I'm just interested to see like, what if Canada legalizes it and Canada just becomes like a powerhouse? Everyone's going to Canada for vacation. You're like, I don't really go to Colorado for vacation, but I think I'm gonna pop up to Canada this summer. That's gonna start happening. Now, I mean, yeah, the States is doing it smart. The smart states are doing it smart. I feel bad, man. Imagine being in a state where marijuana is completely illegal and is like Schedule 1, or Schedule 3. I think, is that the worst? Like, holy shit, I'd feel stupid, man. I'd be like, I got thrown into the wrong state, because this is like you're basically. I mean, listen, it's all politics and stuff, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't be thrown in jail for a plant. And the fact that I know in some places, I guess the DEA says that marijuana has no medical benefits, yet cocaine and heroin are less. Isn't that crazy? Marijuana is more strictly regulated than cocaine and heroin, because heroin is similar to morphine, and morphine is obviously used for surgeries and pain and stuff. And cocaine is a local anesthetic, so you can, like, if you got a cut on your arm and you rub cocaine in it, it actually numb it. So because of that, those drugs have some medical properties, although like not really. Marijuana is even worse. It has no medical benefit whatsoever. So it's in like the meth category. How stupid is that? Okay, that is archaic to say that. So I'm just feeling like being in a state where it's completely illegal and like you can go to jail, that would suck, man. That would be really stupid. Like, what? Like, if I wasn't allowed to have a whiskey ginger ale, if I got caught, drinking a whiskey ginger ale in my home, or at the airport, or not the airport, let's say at my home, the cops bust in. He's like, yeah, he's got a bottle of Jameson, Irish whiskey. You're going to jail. That's so stupid. Like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just having a drink. I'm just sitting here having a drink. Okay. So to say that geez, to say that, if someone wants to do this other thing that doesn't affect people, that's ridiculous. I think that is absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah. I'm definitely excited to see what's going to happen to Canada once we get the legalization going, because a lot of tourists, okay? Canada's tourism is going to boom, especially Vancouver. Nova Scotia, I doubt it. Well, Nova Scotia is a good place to visit in the summer. It's actually really beautiful in the summer. But dude, it's going to be a big boom in tourism. Guarantee that. All the northern states are going to be like, woo, going to Canada. I feel like people do that already for alcohol, because the drinking age is 21 actually in America, and in Canada you can cross over to Montreal. It's 18. Alberta 18. The rest of the place it's 19. But it's pretty cool. So I feel like it's gonna be like that, but even more. People are gonna going to Canada for the weekend, gonna smoke some drugs. But there's that. There's just the tax side. Okay, more people are gonna buy it, gonna have more tax money. That's gonna be a big deal. And just again, see, Canada, I mean, is pretty relaxed with it. Like, I remember when I was in high school talking, me and my friend were talking to our school cop. We had a police officer at our school, and it was a big school. Okay, so there was like a always on duty cop there that there was fights and stuff, and just talking with kids. And he was a cool dude, nice guy. I went to Italy with him actually on a school trip. He came along, but crazy because I remember my friend asked him. He's like, so if you saw someone like smoking weed on the street, what would you do? He'd be like, well, I go up to them and I would say that's illegal and you should put it out. And that's it. He wouldn't give him a ticket. He's like, no, it's not worth my time. I have better things to do than worry about some punk-nosed kid smoking a joint. That makes sense to me. I don't know. So this is going to save a lot of resources too. Although, again, Canada really doesn't seem to care too much about marijuana as far as the legal system goes, unless you're selling weed. Then that I can see, because you're making money off it and stuff illegally. But Canada's already super lax on that. It's not decriminalized though, which is weird. So you can go to jail, but it's like you never would. It's just like such a weird gray area, It's like, well, we don't really care, but don't do it. So anyways, I think it's a good thing that Canada's moving in that direction. Justin Trudeau seems like an interesting type character. I was all for Trudeau. I still am in some cases, but there's a lot of shit going on in Canada that's like some bills getting passed and stuff I'm hearing about, where it's like, a lot of like free speech stuff actually, where it's like, you can't. What was it? Bill C-139 or something like that. I want to say. Let me Google that real quick. What it was it was like an anti-hate speech. Hate speech. Bill C-139, Canada. Graham rearming kit. No. I don't think it was C-139. Oh my God! You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking C-137 Rick. I'm thinking Rick and Morty. It was Bill C-1 something though, or maybe not. Maybe probably just C-137. C-137 Rick and Morty, which is a great show. But anyways, it's like this like anti-hate speech. So it's like if you don't call someone by their preferred pronoun, that's hate speech. And I've talked about that before in my thoughts, that's a little ridiculous to force someone to call you by something. To force any speech is actually really dangerous. But yeah, some weird stuff going on in Canada right now. But so we got. I don't know if I want to say Trudeau's so again, I'll say it. I voted for the guy that's in office right now, and I think he's doing a cool job. I think it's smart that he's legalizing marijuana, just for the economics of it all, if anything. But there's also some social justice warrior shit going on in Canada right now, and I don't know how I feel about that. Okay, I used to always consider myself to be like, oh yeah, I'm pretty left, like, oh yeah, I'm for, I don't know if I'm left now because all this social justice warrior. I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. I guess that's like really far left, but I don't know where I stand. So that's the thing, is just to say you're left or you're right. I think is that it's so weird to like have classifications for your way of thinking. No, this is my definition of how I think, right? Like, but you can be left on something and right on something else, right? So Weird one is a lot of people that are for the death penalty are against abortion. How do you say that? Well, if you're a baby, you should be allowed to live, but we should kill you if you do bad things. On the other way, a lot of people that are for abortion are against the death penalty. I don't know. I don't know, but I don't know. Canada is it's an interesting place, but I like it. I'm glad we're here. I'm glad to be in Canada. It's nice because it's a lot of. I feel like the States would be a great place to live, besides for all the like controversy. You know what I mean? Because like half of people like one way of thinking and half of people like another way of thinking. In Canada, it's not really like that. Obviously, people have different views. I have some friends that lean a little more right than others, but it's not like this huge disconnect of like, the recent guy that got elected in Canada. Like, no one protested that. Like, no, whatever, If you didn't like it, then well, guess what? It just is what it is. This guy also won by like a landslide, so it's not that crazy. But what I'm saying is like, I have friends that they like to hunt, and they're like, yeah, like you should be able to have a gun and stuff, and yeah, of course, because you like hunting, and you need a gun for that, and like whatever, I understand that. But I'm not saying, listen, I always feel. I'm always nervous to criticize anything of the States because you guys are so passionate that I know it sometimes will sound like because people like to punch the United States. People like to criticize the United States. You're like the punching bag of the world because like there's so much controversy. People go, oh, the States this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. But listen, you got a lot of people. You're the biggest army in the world. At the end of the day, I like the States. This is how I think about the States. The States is like Canada's big brother, pretty much, and the big brother has like not the best reputation, but Canada is cool with them. It's like, listen, man, I understand, you got in a few fights, you done this, you done that. Haven't we all, right? No one's cool. Nothing wrong, right? So I'm cool. Like, listen, I'm not against America or anything. Just freaking love America, dude. California is like the most beautiful place on earth, besides Canada in the summertime. But that's a little biased. Anyways, what I'm getting at is I feel like it would be a difficult place to live just because, you got to watch what you say. That's something I'm so like conscious of is I don't talk shit about anything when I'm in the States. Like I don't talk about guns. That's not really an issue for me because I'm Canadian and we have pretty strict gun laws. But I don't talk about shit. I don't talk about Trump. When I was in California for 2 months, I don't talk about anything. I don't talk about Hillary. I don't talk about Trump. I don't talk about any of that because it's just like I feel like there's a very big split right now, right? And it's just like in Canada, you don't really have that, right? You can like Trudeau, you can be against him, but he's the guy in office, and you accept that. But there are some people, not a lot of people, but like protesting Trump and stuff, and that'd just be it would just be it's kind of controversial, But you guys are passionate. You got a lot of passion, okay? I will say, people getting heated, right? Heated on both ways for different things. But the States is cool, man. I love the States. Is actually such an awesome place because this is the thing I appreciate so much about the States is it's one country, but you can get like pretty much any life experience you want in the States. So you can, let's say, okay, you can live in a northern winter city like Boston. Boston is pretty much the same climate as where I live, so I know what it's like. Kind of to live in Boston, different culture, but you can live in Florida where it's like always really warm and humid and stormy and crazy. You can live in Texas. You can live I don't know what Texas is like, but I feel like Texas is a really standout state. They're pretty unique. You can live in California, which is again a place I lived for 2 months. Freaking amazing, by the way. Can I just say California is just hot all the time. It's awesome. Couldn't live there my whole life, but I do like it. Very much. You can live on the northern west coast. But here's where it gets crazy. You can live in Alaska where it's colder than Canada and, nice in the summer, but crazy forested place, lots of animal, all kinds of crazy stuff. Alaska is crazy. Nothing like living in the mainland United States. You can go live super tropical in Hawaii. All of that all of those different experiences, like Hawaii to Boston to Alaska to Texas to California to like Oregon to like middle America, everything is different. And that is what is so cool about the States is, New York, Chicago, all kinds of places. People are like, say my state, say my place. But that is what is so cool about the United States. And it makes me jealous because it's like, if you lived in like California, like Jack, for example, Lonely Mailbox, he always goes to Hawaii. But that's a big trek for someone like me. I can go to like Bermuda, all those like southern, like Cuba, Dominican Republic, all those kind of places. But yeah. No, man, the States is pretty awesome. I like it. But again, I gotta clarify that because I feel like I'm always nervous to say anything critical of the States, and that's not critical. That's just pointing out a truth. Like obviously in the States, there's two very different. I mean, there's a very polarized viewpoints, and I think that's just the truth. So I just hey, listen, my American friends, I appreciate you guys. You guys, again, like Canada. It's so cool to live in Canada because we don't have a huge army, but we're so safe because we're next door to like the biggest army in the history of the universe. So it's actually, we're really kind of like, just mooching off you guys, right? You got this big ass army, but see, we're nice, right? That's the thing Canada has, okay? So I've been told. I can't confirm that. I can't, as a Canadian, I can't say Canadians are, I mean, I think we're pretty nice, but I don't know, seems pretty normal. Like, I feel like I didn't notice a difference between California and Canada. I feel like people were pretty much the same there. Hard to tell, though. Hard to tell. You never know. But, listen, that's the stereotype. Canadians are nice. So, we're like, who was it? Was it like ISIS or something? We're like, we're going to attack the Canadians. And, they were saying like, oh, we're going to bomb America and like, screw you, America. And America's like, yeah, whatever. And then they're like, and we're going to bomb the Canadians. America's like, no, not the Canadians. Like, fuck you. We're going to, you know what I mean? It's like they get a bigger reaction of like, oh, we're going to bomb your neighbors than that. So we tight, man. We tight. I appreciate that. I mean, really, America and Canada, they're pretty similar places because all our media comes from you guys, and all the real maple syrup comes from us. So we're, listen, okay, we give you maple syrup. We may benefit a little bit from being, so close to your large army. But yeah, no, actually, now that I say that, maple syrup is made in the like Vermont area as well. I know, so I can't say, but we have better. We have better maple syrup. Okay, can I say that we have better maple syrup? Yes, I will say that. Thank you very much. And I'm going to go one step deeper. We have better hockey players. Drop the mic. I'm going to end it there. I don't even play hockey. I don't even care about hockey, but I know we have better hockey players. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for listening to this episode of the SmithSquad podcast. If you enjoyed, drop us a retweet on SoundCloud. There you go. I don't know. Yeah, you can retweet on SoundCloud if you're still listening. A repost, sorry. And if you are listening on iTunes, we don't run ads on the podcast. So you don't got to listen to shit besides the lovely voice of me. All you got to listen to is just a simple request. Just a simple request. And that is, if you're listening on iTunes, drop us that juicy 5-star rating, and just comment, this is a zesty podcast, this is a juicy podcast, whatever you feel free. We're actually at 67 ratings right now, so I mean, one of you can maybe be the 69th, but that's all up to you and how quick you can get there. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. We also, actually, I will say, I just uploaded, it was scheduled half an hour ago, Smash or Pass Zombies YouTuber edition, so you might want to go watch that, because that was probably one of the best videos I feel like I've ever made. I thought it was pretty funny, and sort of controversial, but not really, because anyways, you'll see it. So yeah, if you haven't watched that, give that a listen. That was SmithSquad Podcast episode 123. I feel like that was a great episode. I feel like we just rolled with whatever whatever came up, and like there was no real downtime. I bought a $30 pair of socks. This is your bonus. If you sat through me asking for likes, I bought a $30 pair of socks. They're like compression socks, and they're supposed to help you with headaches. So I don't know if they're working, but I made 2 videos yesterday, and I did the podcast today, and I have a headache. But how bad of a headache? Not that bad. So that's pretty cool. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you later. I love you, and I love your faces, and I'll see you tomorrow. Actually, I'll see you next week. I'm gonna get someone on next week. I like doing these solos because number one, it's easy, and number two, I just have a lot of thoughts. You know what I mean? I get a lot of built up ideas, and I need to just put them out there for someone to listen to. But at the same time, I should get a guest on. Actually, I was going to get a guest. I said last week I was going to get someone, and they are traveling right now doing their 1 million subscriber special. I won't say who because I don't want to give away what's going on with him. But if you know someone that I'm pretty close with on YouTube, you could probably take a guess. Definitely doesn't have a yellow for his main YouTube channel color. And okay, yeah, it's Lex. But yeah, I was going to get Lex on, and I saw he's traveling right now, recording for his 1 million special. I won't say anything else, but because of that, I couldn't get him on, and then I forgot about it and held it to the last minute. I've got 3 people in mind that I really want to have on the podcast. One is Lex, and I won't say the other 2, but I don't even know if I'm going to get Lex on. Don't hope out for Lex, okay? Let Lex be like running into $20. If Lex happens to be on next week, then he's on next week. But you don't walk down the street hoping to run at $20, and Lex is a hard guy to get in contact with and schedule stuff with, so can't guarantee, but I know there is another guy I've had on before, and he was cool to talk with about Call of Duty and stuff, and he said he'd like to be on again, so maybe I'll get at him as well. And another guy that I recently met, and he's a cool dude, and I want to get him on the podcast as well. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 123. Appreciate all the support, all the listening, all the love, and I will see you guys next week. Oh, also, this is going to be up on More Smith Plays because I'm a lazy... Actually, no, because I don't want to upload this podcast on my main channel anymore. But I want to have it on YouTube for some people. So I'm going to have to make a video about that. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later. Peace out, you freaking nerds.